Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. As we welcome you to this special broadcast, and this is on behalf of the United Ulama Council of South Africa and its partners, as we at Salam Media have joined both CII Radio and Radio Islam on this simulcast. And we are talking about the Muslim response to the LGBTQ and also understanding the UUCSA initiative as far as LGBTQ goes. Now, we welcome our listeners, our viewers on the various platforms on Radio Islam and also on CII Radio and also the multiple platforms on Salam Media. I am Inayat Wadi. Wonderful to be with you on this Wednesday evening. Now, for the next hour, we will be in discussion with the Amir of the LGBTQ Steering Committee, which has been formed by UUCSA as well. And we've got Haji Imran Subrati. We've also got Maulana Muhammad Kuvadia, who is going to be part and parcel of this panel discussion, and Maulana Uwais Dokrat, all members of the LGBTQ Steering Committee. What we're going to do this evening is to just take you through the committee itself. And we all know that with our eyes on Gaza, with what is happening in Palestine, it's so easy to actually lose focus on other important issues that impact on us as a local community. And this is also a global pandemic as well. It's a global problem because the LGBTQ agenda, we've seen how it has actually played out over the years. And we in South Africa, let us not be fooled. As a Muslim Ummah, we need to take this matter very, very seriously because at this point in time, even looking at where we are as far as our education system is concerned, we're looking at legislation. There are a number of issues that we need to consider very, very seriously. These could have far-reaching consequences for us as a Muslim Ummah. And we see the panel is up on screen with me, Haji Imran Subrati, who is the Amir. Haji Imran, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Walaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, Haji Inayat Wadi. Jazakallah, thank you for having us on your show.
Ameen, Jazakallah khairan. And Maulana Muhammad Kuvadia, mashallah, looking very good, mashallah. Maulana, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh to you.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Jazakumullah khairan for having me as well on the show. And wa alaikum assalam to all the listeners.
Yes, and also Maulana Uwais Dokrat. Assalamu alaikum, Maulana Uwais.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah.
Haji Imran, for the next half an hour, I think before we get to a very, very important part of this evening's discussion, which is going to be about the training, which is extremely important. But we've obviously entitled this broadcast A Muslim's Response to LGBTQ, Understanding UUCSA's Initiative and its upcoming training. So we are going to be breaking down this particular broadcast into two parts. But I just want to take a step back because it's important for the Muslim Ummah to understand what is being done to address this problem of LGBT. Let's take a step back. Let's talk about UUCSA. Let's talk about the initiative and also in terms of the formation of the committee. Yes, I think Haji Imran has frozen a bit, and if he could possibly, Haji Imran, can you hear me now? No, definitely. I think there is a bit of an issue. I think Maulana, Maulana Kuvadia, I think while we're waiting for Haji Imran to connect with us, perhaps Maulana, if you could just take us through, because I know you've been around for a long time since the inception of this committee, and I think it's very, very important that we get some sort of background and put this entire discussion into context.
Definitely, inshallah, I'll try and step in there. With regards to just some context into UUCSA's initiative and where it actually started, I think it was, so I haven't been here since its inception, therefore I don't know the exact details about the initiative's inception, but from what I do understand, what I have been told, is that I think last year in September, the Association of Muslim Accountants and Lawyers at this Ummah were approached by multiple schools, specifically in Pietermaritzburg, with regards to discussions about LGBTQ agenda pushed within the Department of Education and Curriculum. And they were actually seeking guidance in terms of how exactly should they deal with a specific issue. And so they approached Amal for guidance in this matter. And the Association of Muslim Accountants and Lawyers realized that this is a raging phenomenon which requires a special task force to actually find ways to actually combat this from a holistic manner. And so they approached UUCSA, which is the United Ulama Council of South Africa, the largest theologian body within South Africa, which comprises of 9 sub-ulama bodies. And they decided to actually launch a steering committee, specifically to tackle LGBTQ. Now, what's really interesting about this is it is a holistic approach, where we have various subcommittees under it, we have various approaches, because we don't want to just tackle it from an educational perspective. We want to rather tackle it from an educational perspective, from a legal perspective, from a counseling perspective, from a media perspective. For example, today we are having this broadcast, and various other perspectives as well. And so what the UUCSA actually did, they ended up partnering with other organizations so that we can get maximum reach, not only in South Africa, but inshallah, this could actually become a global initiative.
Jazakallah for that, Maulana Muhammad Kubadia. And also, I'd like to bring Maulana Uwais Dokrat in, because I know, Maulana, you've been working a lot with the youth as well. And I see Haji Imran Subrati is connecting. He is with us. So before we get to Maulana Uwais Dokrat, Haji Imran, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh once again. And glad you're able to reconnect. And we were just talking with Maulana Muhammad Kubadia just to get some background and some context. And perhaps, I know you've been there from inception. And I think it's important for our listeners, our viewers, to actually understand what this LGBTQ steering committee is all about. And the last few months or the last year or so, in terms of what some of the key areas of focus has been, and also in terms of what has been achieved.
Once again, I hope I'm much clearer. I'm actually in a different location. I'm actually attending a Palestine discussion outside my office. I'm trying out a different location, so that is why I think we're having a problem with connectivity. But just to give some background to your listeners, is that almost a year ago, a year to the date, I think around about September, October 2022, I'm also the secretary of the Association of Muslim Accountants and Lawyers, as they're called AMAL. And we were approached by concerned Muslim schools who wanted to know, were concerned about the introduction of compulsory sexuality education in school, and more importantly, the impact that it has. It is something that is foreign to our culture as Muslims, and they wanted to know what is the obligation upon them as schools to respond, to teach, and more importantly, what is the alternative response to this entire thing? Is there an alternative? And we were therefore engaged, and our response was, we could only answer part of it. And of course, the question was, what is the Muslim response to what's going to happen? So what we did is we engaged with UUCSA. We had a meeting with one of the from delegates of UUCSA, and subsequent to that, it led to the formation of what was there last year called the Interim Steering Committee on LGBTQ. And we were tasked with a mandate of developing a formula or a vision or a action plan for the Muslims' response, the South African Muslim response to LGBTQ at a country level. And I thought this was very profound indeed, because what you must understand, Haji Sahib, is that many institutions have been doing work and are doing work. But what was unique about this was a collaboration, and this was a country response at a higher level. And as many people may know or might not know, UUCSA is an ulama formation of 9 ulama bodies around the country. And alhamdulillah, we set about with a team, and we came up with a 12-point plan for South Africa. And it was profound, and it was after several discussions with many, many people. For example, one of the issues on the 12-point plan is to develop an age-appropriate syllabus, Islamic syllabus that guides our children from the infancy, from the time they are in preschool, right up to the point when they get to high school and even post-matric level. Now, this is very, very important, because up to now, our madrasa syllabus only incorporates the essentials of, whatever essentials of faith, etc. But we feel that it's necessary that a curriculum or a module be introduced annually that is age appropriate. And this is one of the areas, for example, the 12 point. Another example, another area of our vision was to ensure that whatever we do, we are operating within the ambits of the law, within the constitution. And I must also point out, our engagement on the media today is, alhamdulillah, part of our constitutional rights as South Africans. We have the freedom of expressing ourselves, of our religious and cultural beliefs. And as long as we must not endeavor and go into the space of hate crime and hate speech, our constitution allows us to talk about it as we are doing, to educate ourselves, to educate our ummah about the Islamic response to it as we are doing, and of course to conduct our lives in a manner that is appropriate to us. So alhamdulillah, various committees, and one of our committees, or two of our committees, we have our two chairs over here. One of the 12-point plan was to develop a counseling, is that many people will approach us. How do we respond to them? And we have this formula. We do not condemn we condemn the sin, but not the sinner. So one of the departments is to develop a counseling model of how we can help those who present themselves with these challenges. And there are various departments out of the 12-point plan. So alhamdulillah, it was adopted by UUCSA in February in Durban, and the interim committee became a formal committee, alhamdulillah, and we've been working very hard to develop and to reach out to the public, because what you must understand, this entire concept is foreign to us as Muslims, and it's come in so fast and furious. We hadn't had enough time to train, to educate ourselves, and the reality is there is no books or reference material that we as Muslims can draw upon or refer to that will guide us how to respond, because this phenomena is being experienced for the first time. And alhamdulillah, it required us to go through a steep learning curve and to draw from resources, from international resources, and to formulate a South African Muslim response. So alhamdulillah, just to summarize, we're in a space now where we have active committees. For example, Maulana Muhammad Kuvadia, who's with us, the young and dynamic Maulana Muhammad Kuvadia is the Amir of the counseling subcommittee, and inshallah later he's going to be showcasing what the counseling committee is going to be doing. Maulana Oais Dokrat Sahab, who is in Parda at the moment, he is also a phenomenal young man who is the Amir of our youth committee, very actively engaged and involved in looking at what is happening in the education space, what's affecting our youth, and inshallah he'll also be talking to us. And we also have one very important committee, I think I'll be failing if I fail to mention. It's the legal subcommittee, which is headed by a respected attorney, Ashraf Parker from Cape Town. So we have a very good representation of people from around the country. And Ashraf Parker, for example, has been very involved in the in presenting on the proposed hate crime and hate speech bill. And he legally adjudicates all our conversations. Whatever we do is done within the precincts of the law. Ji Haji Nayat.
Ji, Jazakallah khairan for that, Haji Imran. And I just, I know we're getting some sort of feed. I'm not too sure whether this broadcast is playing out on another platform in the background. So that is the reason why I think let's just mute our mics so we don't get that feed coming through. But also, I think just to bring Maulana Uwais Dokrat into the discussion. Now, clearly, we've got a good overview in terms of the committees, the subcommittees that have obviously been formed through this steering committee. And Maulana Uwais Dokrat, I know you've been doing a lot of work as well. And just to get, as a form of introduction from your side as well, I know you've been working a lot with the likes of the youth and all of that as well. And there are many observations. And just for our listeners and our viewers to get an idea as to why the need, why is it so important for us to actually move with a steering committee like this? Because clearly there are many challenges that are facing us as a Muslim Ummah, particularly on this LGBTQ issue, and a lot of it directly that is aimed at the youth. So Maulana, I just need your thoughts as well before we get into certain specifics.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. So Alhamdulillah, as a youth subcommittee, what we began doing is we began looking at what the Department of Education has taken out thus far with regards to LGBTQ. And what we found actually was quite concerning. And I think this is a matter of concern for all Muslims that reside in South Africa. The first is that we found a document that is titled Challenging Homophobic Bullying in Schools. And this was actually issued by the Department of Basic Education on guidelines on how schools should deal with homophobia. Now, there's many questions that we have with regards to this paper that the department has taken out, but we'll just cover the key two aspects. The first is that in the first chapter, actually before even the contents page of this document, the departments they wrote myths about LGBTI people. And the first myth they had listed was being LGBTI is against my religion. So they considering our Islamic view, which is 14,000 years old, as a myth with regards to our belief in LGBTQ. And the second is that in the same document, where they got at the very end of the document, they got the resource center resources, and they got LGBTI religious groups. And the first group that they mentioned is Islam, and they put the name of an organization who I think that majority of us as Muslim South Africans will not choose that group to identify us as Muslims of South Africa. And because of this approach that the Department of Education has actually taken, we find that now seeping through into different assignments and mandates that have been sent out by the Department of Education. And we'll just take us through two examples. The first is that in the third term, in the life orientation subject in the Gauteng region, there was a question that was actually worth 24 marks, so a very considerable amount of marks for students. And the section was on homophobia, and it was titled Homophobia, Should It Be Addressed? Now, if one had to study, and alhamdulillah, we got to study this assignment in detail, and there's few very concerning things that we found. One was that in this assignment, there was a small paragraph, and after it, there was a reference to a website. When one goes onto this website, which is known as Diversity Role Models, where they got their abstract from, if one goes onto the website, there's clear mention of being Muslim and gay. And this talking about this organization actually goes to schools within the England to promote LGBT. So there's clear reference to being a Muslim and gay, which is very concerning for us. The other is that the assignment is full of propaganda. There's things like a picture that says love is love. And one of the questions actually make us very concerned, because one of the questions was asking that what impact do different youth volunteer groups can make with regards to homophobia in schools. And this is quite concerning and baffling at the same time, that when is it ever that within schools we encourage, or we have youth groups to encourage heterosexual relations? So what's the need now to have youth volunteer groups within schools to promote homosexual relations? It's a very strange phenomena. And the third is actually a very recent document that came out from the Gauteng East District, which was dated the 16th of October, and they actually had a program that took place on the 31st of October, which was the LGBTQIA plus Walk the Talk. And in this program, the students, it was compulsory for students to wear T-shirts representing the colors of the rainbow, of the LGBTQ logo. And at the bottom, they actually wrote, it is compulsory for all secondary schools to attend. So we can see a very concerning approach that the Department of Education has actually adopted in this regard. And for this reason, it's very important for us as the Muslims of South Africa to be proactive and take up measures to ensure that our religious rights as Muslims in South Africa is not being trampled upon by the Department of Education under the guise of the LGBTQI movement.
Jazakallah for that, Maulana Uwais. Maulana Kubadia, would you like to add something to what Maulana Uwais had to say?
I just want to add one aspect there, because I think Maulana Uwais has humbly mentioned in terms of like the concerns which are arising here, but he failed to mention in terms of the work which the committee had actually done to combat this already to date. I think he spoke about, for example, the issue with regards to the Department of Education. We've actually already sent out an email to the Department of Education requesting a meeting with them, and they have responded where they said that they would actually look into this matter. Similarly, there was a Pride March poster which went out from Varsity College, carrying a Muslim male and Muslim female holding hands. And we actually sent out an email as well to Varsity College, and eventually they ended up removing this image. So I just wanted to highlight there that Muawis is humbly, mentioned in terms of some of the challenges we've actually faced. But I think we also need to give credit in terms of the work which we have also achieved as a committee, and inshallah it will continue to grow from here.
Well, inshallah, jazakallah for that. And I see Haji Imran is back with us. And Haji Imran, I think just from what Maulana Ois Dr. had mentioned, and also what Maulana Muhammad Kubadia says in terms of the education system and how this agenda is actually playing into and how it is creeping into our education system. And this is an education system that is applicable to all those that are attending both Muslim and non-Muslim schools, because some of these exam papers that we're talking about, the assignments or the projects that we're talking about, these were forced onto school, even learners in Muslim schools. So one cannot overemphasize enough about what some of these dangers are. And clearly, apart from the education system, there are many, many legal challenges. We're talking about legislation, we're talking about laws and those things. And also when we see UUCSA recently that have released a statement regarding the CRL Commission, it's important, because this is where we went on a campaign as well to encourage people to actually take part in this survey. And it is one avenue that is actually open to us, where we can raise and voice our concerns in terms of our religious rights as a Muslim ummah in this country.
Yes, Haji Inayat, it's indeed very important that we are living in an era in South Africa, and indeed in an era in the world, wherein ideologies and worldviews that are foreign to the 1400-year established doctrine of Islam are being introduced. It is therefore the collective responsibility, Haji Saab, of each and every one of us that are listening in, each and every Muslim and morally conscious person, to become aware and not be a spectator, but be a participant. Listening in and getting messages coming to your phone and not becoming active, unfortunately, makes us complicit if we don't take action. And we need to develop this mentality of activism. We have to become proactive, because our actions now will project into the future that our children and grandchildren have in this country. And I cannot overemphasize this. Maulana Muhammad Kuvadia has articulated or mentioned the very hard work that the subcommittee and the steering committees are doing. But what we need is all that needs to translate into action by the viewers and the listeners acting. Example, what Maulana Ois Dokrat had alluded to with regards to the encroaching space of the freedom of expression of religion. There is the CRL survey that we had put out, and it had initially a 30th of September deadline. Knowing our community will not respond soon, we then requested a 31st of October deadline from CRL. Alhamdulillah, they granted it. And then, of course, 7th of October took place, and then we all got involved in Palestine. Alhamdulillah, we made a last-minute effort to get as many people to respond as possible. But I think we need to examine ourselves and ask, did we just look at that survey and ignore it? But there is an opportunity, and that is to lodge a complaint via the CRL platform. Again, Haji Naid Wadi, all the information is available to the Ummah. We have got links directly for the CRL complaint link, as well as we have a link to UUCSA, wherein all the information is available. All we need to do is click on the link, copy and paste the various motivations that Haji, our Maulana Ois Dokrat has discussed. All this has been scripted, but we need to become active, and I cannot overemphasize that. Maulana Muhammad Kuvadia mentioned, for example, one of a renowned varsities. Whilst all the drama is taking place in Palestine, and whilst Pride Month has passed us in June, this college pulled out a poster showing and depicting Muslim girl with a hijab and a boy with a topi and a beard holding hands and taking part in a pride march. Your steering committee, alhamdulillah, immediately responded to it. And within a day, within a half a day, we've got a letter of apology from the college, and we insisted on an updated poster, and they sent it to us wherein they removed all forms of images. Now, this is the type of activism we need, not only from ourselves, but every single listener out there. You have to be our ears and our eyes on the ground. UUCSA has established committee. If you find something in your children's examination, bring it to our attention, raise the alarm, and inshallah we will engage further.
Certainly, Haji Imran, and also Maulana Kubadia, we know that this is a new phenomenon for many of us, and from a counseling side as well. And this is exactly what this committee is endeavoring doing, is to cover all our bases from a legal perspective, looking at our youth. You mentioned media. There is just so much that one needs to do. And certainly at this point in time, we will be blind to the fact that this doesn't exist within the Muslim community. And I'm sure that there are many, many examples where parents are actually grappling with this problem. And, you know, once we see these real life examples starting to emerge, children will be children. Introduce this in school, they'll want to explore. And this is the reason why we need to be proactive. We need to preempt what is actually going to take place. And we cannot treat this thing lightly, Maulana Muhammad Kubadia.
No, definitely. I think we need to find solutions, because unfortunately, as Ummah, sometimes we become problem fixated and not solution orientated, when we actually need to find solutions as well to the challenges that we do experience. And I think that speaks into why we've developed a holistic system in terms of approaching this specific issue. In terms of understanding its prevalence, I think one thing we can highlight from a counseling perspective, what we actually wanted to do is understand the prevalence on the ground, that how many people are actually affected by same-sex attractions or gender dysphoria. Because yes, we can claim and we can maybe see one or two stories from Imma or maybe from teachers, and then we generalize its statements. But we wanted to actually have some sort of empirical understanding that what is the prevalence like, and how equipped are ulama and teachers actually in terms of able to assist these individuals. And so we conducted a survey and study at the starting of the year. And alhamdulillah, in terms of our ulama and female alimat, people which actually completed this specific study, we had about 230 people, individuals who completed the study. And for any person which knows research or quantitative research, they will know that 230 participants is a substantial amount of individuals. And out of those 230 ulama or alimat, we actually found that 1 in 5 ulama, that's 20% of ulama, were actually approached by a person struggling with unwanted same-sex attractions or gender dysphoria. Now, this is actually alarming, and the same thing we actually found within the teachers as well. And this shows actually the prevalence of it, because remember, these are individuals which are coming to ulama and saying that I am struggling, I want to find a solution, I am not happy with accepting this as part of my identity, I want to be able to overcome it, I am experiencing these feelings, I know it's impermissible for me. They have this cognitive dissonance found within them, but they want to be able to overcome it, and they're looking for solutions, but they don't have those solutions. Because everywhere they go to, normally they just hear it's haram, it's impermissible. But no one ever tells them that it is possible for you to actually experience these emotions and these feelings, and you need to be able to work through them, because this is not a sign of your weakness of your faith. In fact, if you are able to stop these feelings from protruding and becoming actually something, becoming an action, then this is in fact a sign of the strength of your faith. And that's what people actually need to find. And that's the solution, and that's the reason why we actually developed the counseling subcommittee.
Yes, Jazakallah, which obviously brings us now to Haji Imran. You know, when we look at the resources within the Muslim community, when we look at the capacity within the Muslim community to actually deal with the problem, and this is the second part of the discussion that we want to talk about, the training, because we know at a school level, educators, teachers will be faced with this problem, whether these issues creep up in an exam paper, or you've got learners that are inclined to this type of behavior. and at the same time, even looking at parents, looking at ulama as well. Maulana Muhammad Kuvadia spoke about the survey that was conducted with ulama and the alimas as well. And we need to have the capacity to actually deal. And there's just so much that the committee has done until now in preparedness to provide some sort of training to the ulama, to teachers in terms of how to deal with this problem. So Haji Imran, just your thoughts in terms of why this training is so important, why it is necessary, because I'm sure when this training happens on the 11th, there are going to be some real live scenarios that will actually be played out, and that will give us an idea as to whether do we have the capacity, can we deal with this problem, or do we still need to do a lot more?
Jazakallah for that question. I think it's a very relevant question, and we must be very realistic about this. In my earlier introductions, I mentioned, Haji Inaid Wadi, is that this prevalence or this phenomena is very new to us as Muslims, or at least it's very new to us as Muslims in a public, in an open domain. And with social media, the way it is, its incidence of prevalence and experimentation is increasing exponentially. It's not a simple increase, it's an exponential increase in the rate of occurrence. And further to the survey that Maulana Muhammad Kuvari had alluded to, when we asked the ulama, and there were 235 ulama, and about over 100 educators. So we're talking of a sample size of over 330. I think it would be fair to say that 99.99% of them responded by saying, we are not skilled and we do not know how to deal with it. When we say we do not know how to deal with it, we do not know how to coach, we don't know how to respond to a person who presents himself with this type of same-sex attractions or gender dysphoria, and there was an overwhelming appeal to us that please coach us, please train us. How do we respond? And again, it wasn't an easy task for our committee, Haji Inayat. Why? Because even our trained psychiatrists, our trained counselors, they themselves have not been exposed to a plethora or to as many cases of this. For example, you will have child abuse, you will have alcoholism, you will have drugs, you will have all the other types of societal problems that our psychologists, that our counselors, even experts have been exposed to. But when it came to dealing with a Muslim, and I'm emphasizing Muslim because we operate within a worldview that was established by the Quran and by the Sunnah, by our Sharia. But when it comes to responding and counseling a person with hikmat, with love, and not just condemning the person and saying that this is haram, in that case you will actually lose the person. You can possibly push him out of Iman. So the idea behind this entire thing is, how can we respond and empower our ulama? And remember, our ulama, our appas in our madrasas. My wife is an educator by day, and by afternoon she is a madrasa appa. She came to me and she said, there was a girl who approached me in madrasa and said, Appa, I'm attracted to another girl. And these are young girls. So my wife is telling me, how do I respond? And this is a question that every single alim, every single madrasa appa, every single educator needs to ask themselves, including parents. If I am approached by someone who tells me, I am confused whether I'm a male or a female, I feel I'm attracted to males if I'm a male, are you equipped to respond? And I think that the overwhelming response is no, we are not. And hence, the upcoming training on the 11th, inshallah, is of profound importance, because inshallah, Azza wa Jal, we have this optimism that you will at least depart with some level of skills. That how do you manage the first conversation with such a person? What are the things that you will say, and what are the things that you will not do, not say? Jihaji sir.
Yes, Jazakallah for that. And I'd just like to bring Maulana Kubadia back into the discussion, because Maulana, in terms of this training, as Haji Imran mentioned, this is important because the future of our children is at stake. The future of the Iman could be at stake if we manage this thing incorrectly, and we just respond without understanding or without being properly schooled or even trained in terms of how to manage and handle or respond to a situation. So Maulana, let's just talk a bit about the training, and we know this training is taking place on the 11th as well, and in fact many educators have actually been contacted, ulama have been contacted as well, and let's get an overview as to what this training is going to be all about.
So in terms of the training and what actually it's going to be about, as you mentioned, it is going to be this coming Saturday on the 11th of November. So it is specifically looking at it from a counseling perspective, understanding same-sex attractions and gender dysphoria, or LGBTQ as we know it, from a counseling perspective. So of course we have to start off with understanding the Islamic stance, because even though we can speak about it from a counseling perspective, a person requires a rudimentary and elementary understanding of what exactly is same-sex attractions and gender dysphoria, and what is the Islamic position about it. Does Islam, for example, say that a person who has a thought or a desire to engage in a behavior with a person of the same sex as them, are they a Muslim? Do they become a non-Muslim? Do they become sinful? So that's what we're first going to actually focus on. But when we're speaking about the Islamic stance, we're not looking at it from a simple understanding, or just looking at it in terms of the sources and the references of why exactly does Islam actually have this position. But we want to actually look at it from a practical perspective. For example, if a person in my classroom has to identify as transgender, how do I actually engage with this individual? How am I obliged to engage with this individual? We can speak about it being impermissible, but the reality is our children are in settings where, for example, in a public school, people are going to be like this within their classroom. They have to engage with these people. What happens if they get paired with them for a group project? We working in the workforce, for example, in occupational environment. We have to attend diversity training. We have to also engage with people, managers, for example, or even colleagues who have maybe same-sex attractions or gender dysphoria. So from Islamic position, how actually do we engage with these individuals? So that's the first thing we're actually going to be looking at. The second thing we want to answer is the age-long question of, is same-sex attractions and gender dysphoria a mental illness or is it not? Because unfortunately, many of us get caught up in a Western understanding of psychopathology or mental illness, and we want to quote that homosexuality is a mental illness, when this is actually not necessarily the Islamic position. It actually is classified as a spiritual illness. The third thing we actually want to do is understand the genesis and the causes of same-sex attractions and gender dysphoria. And the reason why we actually need to understand the causes is only when we understand the causes of something can we actually develop intervention strategies. If we don't know what the cause of something is and we try and create intervention strategy, we actually will not be actually finding solutions to actually combat that specific phenomena. So we actually have to understand what are the causes of same-sex attractions and gender dysphoria, and from there then we can actually develop intervention strategies and assist the individual. I'll give you a basic example. One cause of same-sex attraction or gender dysphoria is a overly close relationship for a male with his mother and a distant relationship with his father. And this is especially important at the age of 18 months when a person goes through a separation, individualization stage, where they separate and they create an autonomous self. Now, if you just go to this person and tell them that you can't be homosexual, you can't have same-sex attractions, but you don't find solutions in terms of building a stronger relationship with their father or with another male individual and finding a way to separate from the close relationship of his mother, then we're actually not really providing true solutions for these individuals who are struggling. So that's in terms of the genesis and the causes of same-sex attractions and gender dysphoria. And the last thing, inshallah, we are going to also be touching on is practical ways of actually assisting individuals. When a person approaches you, how do you as an Islamic scholar, as an educator, as a parent, or even just as an individual, how do you actually approach this person? How do you, when they come to you and confess, how do you actually guide this individual? How do you build rapport with this person? What sort of communication strategies? What questions you need to ask? So that's in terms of the theoretical component. But I think the best part about this training session and what I really want to focus on and really highlight as well is we want to also do a case study where we want to show people how these theoretical concepts actually manifest itself in real life. And therefore, we've developed a case study which we are inshallah going to end up dissecting within the training. Now, understand also this is just the first level training. We plan on having 3 level trainings. So this is just the introductory course, and you will have a second level and a third level. So level 1 is going to be a bit more theoretical, but it's important for us to actually have a theory because everything we do as a Muslim is built on knowledge. So we need to first have that knowledge, and then this level 2 and level 3 is going to now teach us how do we actually implement this knowledge, because unfortunately many of us might have the knowledge, but we fail in terms of implementation of that knowledge. So that's why level 1 is going to be a bit more theoretical, but it is required for us to actually proceed on to level 2 and level 3.
Jazakallah for that, Maulana. Let's bring Maulana Uwais Dokrat back into the discussion. And Maulana Uwais, as Maulana Muhammad Kubadia, he spoke about certain practical examples, and that is going to be case studies as well that will be discussed at the training. And in our meetings, in our weekly meetings as a steering committee, we discuss these things, and we actually sometimes ask the questions amongst ourselves. The school environment is one, where ulama or educators need to deal, but we also have got the home environment. We've got a community as well. And just today, I think, Maulana Uwais, we were just talking about in a masjid, if somebody transgender comes into the masjid and we know the person is transgender, or you get a gay couple coming into your masjid, how will the community react? Now, this, as Maulana Muhammad Kubadia says, this is just at one level that we're addressing. There are so many other levels that one needs to actually talk about. And, also on your side, I know Maulana Uwais, Q&A for the ulama, a lot of groundwork, a lot of work has actually been done already. And it's now to translate some of that theory into practice as well, and to actually apply it practically in our lives, within our communities, and to share this information. And this is the reason why we are having this program as well, Maulana Uwais.
100%, Junaid. And that is one of our objectives as the subcommittee. One of the projects that we have taken on, as you alluded to, was actually prepare a small question and answer. And inshallah, we hope before the end of this year, if possible, that should come out, or early next year, where we prepared a very simple question and answer with regards to same-sex attractions and gender dysphoria, that everyone can just use as a simple guide on the Islamic viewpoints on these matters. And I think the other important thing that we're busy with, as Haji Imran also alluded to, was preparing curriculum that is age appropriate and that will be able to assist in educating our students on this fitna and on how to deal with these type of issues. As we all know, the ummah at this moment is being attacked. One is physically and ideologically. So we have to really prepare ourselves, and we have to ensure that we that we dare to respond to all of these type of attacks that are currently on the iman of our children. These type of ideological attacks that are currently facing are in the form of all of these type of new ideologies like atheism, feminism, and one of the big ideologies that we are being attacked with currently is the ideology of LGBTQ.
Well, certainly. And also, Haji Imran Subrati, we know that South Africa, we somewhat behind. And even looking at this training that is taking place, alhamdulillah, it's a step in the right direction. It's a forward step. And I'm sure that there are going to be many more training sessions that are going to be held, and just focusing on the immediate training that is due to take place on the 11th. But in developing that as well, alhamdulillah, we've been able to draw on the experience of what some of the other countries are doing. There are many experts around the world on the subject from the Muslim community as well, whom we link up with, who we discuss with as well, and who also we draw from their experience in terms of dealing, and also in terms of some of the material that they've actually drawn up, because they've been somewhat ahead. They've got the same challenges as us, but also I think it's important that we tackle this thing. When we tackle this thing here as well, it's important to talk to the experts and to draw from their knowledge, from their expertise, and from their experience.
Certainly, Haji Naid Wadi, I must say that, and I'm very pleased and humbled that what is going to be showcased, inshallah, on Saturday will be uniquely South African in many ways, and also something that has been developed after thorough research. And we have in the counseling subcommittee itself, there is a structure in it. We have 3 departments. The one department is the Department of Research. And this was the first department that we entrenched, because as I had alluded to at my introduction, there are no textbooks and set works we could draw on that were written about how do you counsel Muslim patients. So we had to do extensive research, and the approach is called the psycho-spiritual approach, where we bring in professional psychological methodologies and protocols, which our Maulana Muhammad Kuwadi, alhamdulillah, in addition to being an alim, he is also a psychologist and honors psychology student, alhamdulillah. And we have an entire research team comprising of professionals, and they have researched, brought in information, and we've developed what we would say is the best practice or best approach to dealing with it. We are not saying it's cast in stone, because we are acknowledging we are in a learning curve. What we are acknowledging is it is a beautiful start, and it will certainly improve. We are also very blessed in that in our group, in our committee, and inshallah amongst our presenters will be also an alim as well as a practicing psychiatrist who has dealt with many cases, and we can say is the most expert in this field in our team. He will be dealing and drawing upon his real life experiences with patients, and more importantly, drawing on the success stories that he's encountered. That this challenge, it's not something that cannot be overcome. It is something that can be overcome, but there is a method in it, and there is a protocol that we need to follow. So inshallah, alhamdulillah, we have developed, I think, something, alhamdulillah, as it stands. We've got interest from Mauritius, from Kenya, from Africa, and many, when we started the committee, we had some guests down from UK, and of course we drew from the experience of United Kingdom and from America, because clearly this phenomena is very high, and Muslims over there responded beautifully, mashallah. I must give credit to the communities there. They responded very beautifully. And yes, we're drawing on the international experience from these countries and other Western countries to bring together, inshallah, a beautiful session on Saturday.
Right. Maulana Muhammad Kuwadia, let's talk about the actual training session on Saturday. And, people still who want to register still have the opportunity to register as well. So just take us through some of the details surrounding the actual training session that is due to take place.
I just want to still add on something with regards to the previous question about our resources and how we have actually reached out to people internationally and drawn on the expertise of other individuals. I think it's important that, as Haji Imran has beautifully mentioned, that we don't have all the solutions, because we are still in uncharted territory. We're still finding the solutions, and we're still developing things as we carry on. And that means that we actually still require assistance. We're not claiming to know everything. Every person, I honestly believe that in our Muslim community, and that's really the awesome and amazing part about this initiative, it doesn't only comprise of ulama, it doesn't only comprise of a certain sector of individuals, it's a holistic understanding. I honestly believe that every person has capacity within them to assist us in whichever ability it is. So if you feel, I think, you have any resource, no matter what it is, if you have a research skill, for example, you maybe have a presentation skill, you maybe have a media skill where you're able to design posters, you're able to set up stuff like this. Whatever skill you feel can be beneficial to our committee and you are invested in this, I think reach out to us at counseling at UUCSA. That's counseling with a double L, South African English, at UUCSA.co.za. And really, I think that's the thing. We need to unite ourselves to be able to stand at the forefront of combating this specific challenge. Now, just coming back to in terms of the question which was actually posed to me about our training session this coming Saturday. So the training session is taking place on Saturday, the 11th of November. It is going to be from 9:30 till about 12:30. I know many people will be hearing that and be like, this is not for me. I've already had a long year this year. I can't still take out another 3 years. It's mid exam period. Maybe I have papers to mark as a teacher. I got, things to sort out for the year end. But remember, it's 3 hours for investment in your future, for investment in your children, for investment in your learners. If you're an alim, for investment in your community. Honestly, I feel those 3 hours are nothing. It is going to be structured, so it's not going to be like we're going to come here, sit and give a 3 hour bayan, talking about one thing and then moving on to the next thing. It is going to be, inshallah, structured with a specific aim and objective. So as I mentioned, from 9:30 to 12:30, we will have 3 speakers and a facilitator. One speaker will be from Cape Town, from MJC, Mulana Muhammad West, who has done extensive research as well in this specific topic. Actually, alhamdulillah, I had the opportunity to meet him on Monday, and I was blown away by him. We have as well myself, inshallah, and we have Mulana Dr. Ibrahim Saida from Durban, who is a specialist psychiatrist as well and an alim. The 3 of them will be speaking. We will also have time for Q&A sessions in between each speaker, and we will have a short break, a 10-minute break, inshallah, in between, and we will also have Q&A at the end of the entire program. As I said, it will also be interactive, it will be practical, we will be walking through case studies in it as well. In terms of registration, if a person wants to register, there has been a poster which has been circulating on social media and WhatsApp in it, containing all of the details. This, just to add on there, this program is free of charge, this training is free of charge. We're not taking anything, and really a lot of energy has gone into it in terms of our resources, time, expertise. So it's a real bargain and a steal. In terms of registering, as I was mentioning, there is a poster which is circulating on social media. However, if you haven't received that poster as yet, then you can go and email counseling. Again, as I mentioned, it's double L because that's our African language. counseling@ucsa.co.za. Alternatively, if you are listening on Salam Media, CII, or Radio Islam, just contact any of these media houses, and I'm sure they will be able to assist you either by passing on your details to us in terms of assisting you with the registration process. And inshallah, registrations are still open and will only be closed on Saturday.
Well, inshallah, Maulana. And obviously, this is 3 hours, as you mentioned. It's investing your time. This is definitely an investment in more ways than one. And just to bring Maulana Uwais Dokrat into the discussion, Maulana, just anything from your side that you'd like to comment on or add onto the upcoming training on the 11th of November?
I think majority of regarding the details, etc., was covered, and I think it is an opportunity that we shouldn't miss out on, and we should all try to avail ourselves for this opportunity and try to take maximum benefit from what will be shared. And as Maulana Muhammad Kuvadia mentioned when he started a few minutes ago, that we require people's assistance. We continuously require people to come on board and assist us in our mission that we have in front of us. Currently, we have 2 requests to the South African public. The first is that we want, as Haji Imran mentioned, we want everyone to complete the CRL complaint on the CRL website, a complaint to the CRL Commission. And number 2, we have a letter to the Department of Education highlighting some of the key issues that we have that is currently included in the syllabus and other programs that the department held. And we want parents now to actually take this letter, and the letter has been drafted, it's fully prepared. All you have to do is now take this letter and forward it to the Department of Education. We have provided the email address to which one should forward this email, and this is all provided, and it should be on the UUCSA's website soon, inshallah. So that will also be going out on social media. As soon as you see that post, we request everyone to come on board, play their part, and actively take part in our fight against these type of problematic ideologies that are now threatening the iman of our future generations.
Well, certainly. And also, I think, Haji Imran, I think we need to also not forget to make mention of some of the legal interventions as well. We know the submissions that were made to the standing committees in Parliament as well, on behalf of UUCSA as well. And we know that some of our legal people have been very, very keen, alhamdulillah, and they've assisted to a large extent in terms of taking up our case. We know some of the bills that are in the pipeline, that are in the offing as well. So this is something also we need to be vigilant about as a Muslim Ummah. So it's an approach, it's a holistic approach. The training on Saturday is one aspect aimed at ulama and at educators. There's still a lot of work that we need to do with regards to the communities as well that we reside in terms of looking at parents, how parents need to deal, looking at young people. I know Maulana Uwais Dokrat is doing tremendous work amongst the young people. There's still a lot of work that actually lies ahead. And as Maulana Muhammad Kubadia says, people need to come forward to, obviously, where they can assist. Maulana Uwais Dokrat also reinforce that as well. So, as a committee, alhamdulillah, there is a lot of progress that have been made, and I see we've got about 3 or 4 minutes left before we terminate the program, but there's still a lot of hard work that actually lies ahead, Haji Imran.
Certainly there is. This is just the beginning of a long journey, Haji Naid. Remember, whatever we are doing now and we are incubating, it is an investment into the next few generations. We must understand that this is something that will be ongoing. Just as we have all the other societal challenges, this challenge is something that is come upon us, and we will understand we need to be part of the solution. That's the first point. The second point, I want to give some exciting news to especially our female listeners and viewers out there. Alhamdulillah, the committee has incorporated within its structure a women's subcommittee that forms part of the steering committee. Alhamdulillah. So our sisters have a voice, they have a presence, and they have an opportunity to become involved. And I know our mothers and our sisters are very active in their social circles. They can really spread positive messages, and they are very active. For example, when we encountered the issues with this education department, it was our mothers that came forward. They were the ones who wrote up to the department. So I want to appeal to everyone who's listening there, our mothers, our youth. If you're a media person, if you're a legal person, if you're a medical person, a counseling person, the steering committee, alhamdulillah, is well structured. There is a place for you, and maybe you can't or you're unable to. Perhaps you know someone who is able to assist. Send them to us, connect us to them, connect them to us. We need all the resources. Remember, each and every one of us, alhamdulillah, I must also acknowledge, and I failed to acknowledge, Haji Naid Wadi, your generous acceptance of our request for a media head. Alhamdulillah, Haji Naid Wadi is also the Amir of the media subcommittee of the steering committee, and we were lacking that. So alhamdulillah, Allah has blessed us with himself, and through his ability, he's now created this podcast. And this is the kind of collaboration we needed, and the type of volunteerism we needed. So if you're listening out there, your ummah, we need you here. We need to strengthen this, because volunteerism has a plateau point. Each and every one of us are volunteerism, and we certainly have to make the circle bigger, and we have to become actively part of the solutions.
Jazakallah for that. And just very quickly, I think we've got a few seconds. I'm going to go around. Just final thoughts, Maulana Muhammad Kubadia, and particularly with regard to the training. Anything else you wish to add?
I think just to add on to the thoughts there, I think, I always say a foolish person is a person who sits in the dark, whereas a wise person is a person who finds a light even in the darkest of moments. There are solutions. We just need to be part of the solution. And I think that's part of the training there. So register for the training on the 11th of September from 9:30 to 12:30, and inshallah, we'll see everyone there.
Inshallah. Maulana Uwais Dokrat.
Jay, I think the idea has been reiterated many times, but we conclude with this, that we are not responsible for the environments that we find ourselves within, but we're responsible for the actions that we take within those environments. So these are realities that are around us. We are responsible for what do we do in response to all of these different type of challenges that we are currently facing.
Jazakallah for that. And Amir Saab, Haji Imran, you can have the last word.
Jazakallah, first and foremost to you, Haji Naid Wadi, to Salam Media, to CII, to all the radio stations that are broadcasting this. We really appreciate your collaboration and your supporting this. And it is my wish that please, every single alim in South Africa, every single educator, if you know of someone, make sure, if you're a masjid committee member or somebody, make sure you get them to join. And if you're a parent or a concerned member of the ummah, please join, because someone out there you will be able to help if you equip yourself by joining the training that's taking place on Saturday.
I mean, Jazakallah khairan so much to all of you, Maulana Muhammad Kubadia, Maulana Wais Dokrat, and Haji Imran Subrati, for being part and parcel of this discussion. And also, we'd like to say Jazakallah to the radio stations who have come together, Radio Islam, CII Radio, and also Salam Media as well. Jazakallah to all of you who have come on board, inshallah, and looking forward to more simulcasts, more broadcasts, because at the end of the day, this is a problem that we need to work together on as a Muslim Ummah, inshallah. This was just the first of many, inshallah, going forward. But for now, once again, from all of us, we wish you well, inshallah. We make dua and make sure that the 11th, the November the 11th, the training as well. Please register. It is going to be at so much value in terms of your lives as ulama and also as educators. And with that, I'm going to be signing off once again to the other two media houses, to the listeners and the viewers on Radio Islam and on CII Radio. We say Jazakallah to all of you for being part and parcel of this broadcast with us this evening. So from myself and all and the rest of the team, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.